On December the 7th,
Yes.
Seaman First Class to be advanced to third class boatswain.
What happened to you on that day?
That day I was getting ready to go on Liberty, and my shoes were missing, so I had to find out where they were. They were in the after part of the ship. I went down and I was coming out, and a buddy of mine that was a quartermaster said, "Stu, how about having a cup of coffee?" And so we sat down and we were sharing with one another what we're going to do that day. And all of a sudden I heard a wayfire and rescue party. That means you go to your quarters, get your hat, fall in, and wait orders. The officer of the deck saw the fire over on Fort Island, not knowing we were being attacked. And when I went to my locker to get my hat on, I got kicked right in the seat of the pants by a boatswain mate and told me, "Get to your battle station on the double, this is the real thing." So I ran out on top side, and I saw planes diving all over the sky here, and I dove under a gun tub. Now that would be like the gun sitting up off the deck like that. I dove underneath there, and our pilot, Lieutenant White, was shooting at planes with his .45. I'm a seaman, and I'm wondering what in the world kind of war is this, but I don't ask any questions.
No, I was just wondering if there was apparent black in the shoe, but I guess thank you.
Because he was a lieutenant commander, I'm a seaman, but he asked me, he says, "Son, where's your battle station?" And I pointed right up to turret 3. He says, "Get up there as fast as you can." And as I was going up the ladder into the turret, a Japanese plane flew right down along the port side of us. And I could see the pilot and the co-pilot laughing like everything. But those .50 caliber machine guns were spitting out bullets all over the place. Got inside the turret, and Crosland and I were the only two that manned the turret, which I was gun pointer, he was the gun trainer. Now my job is to raise that gun up and down for the distance we're going to throw that shell. Well, we have 16-inch guns on ship, and the shell stands about 5'2". It weighs 2,700 pounds, and it takes 5 100-pound bags of black powder to hurl that shell 30 miles. Well, we're not going to fire those 16-inch in Pearl, but nevertheless, that was my battle station, so that's where I was at. When we got in to our position, Crosland says, "Stu, let's see what's going on." Just about that time, we took the sight caps off. Bam! There went the Arizona. And I estimated about 32 bodies went flying through the air. And I met one of those bodies in our chapter back in, I think it was 86 or 87.
So some of those men that were launched off the ship were survived that part?
Oh yes. He was burned 62% of his body because he was thrown into the burning oil. But he survived. And we had quite a few others that did too. And so within about 3 to 5 minutes, one of those bombs came right through the top of our turret. And they weren't bombs, they were armor-piercing shells that they were using, 15-inch armor-piercing shells. And how we know that is that Monday when we came back over to the ship, we looked inside the turret, and there's the base of the shell that had landed in it. And however, all 11 men that were manning the left gun were killed by the explosion. And I had a hatch right down by my feet because we had a 4-inch steel partition between the two guns, and it blew that hatch right off the foredogs, past my legs, but underneath the elevating screw. But it picked both Crosland and I, threw us 8 feet back into the elevating screw. And when we picked ourselves off the deck, like Crosland says, "Stu, let's get out of here." And he didn't say it quite that nice. But anyhow, we made it outside and on top, and the ship was on about a 15 to 20 degree list from the torpedo hits. And the water was just a little below my kneecaps where I was standing. And we watched the Oklahoma tip over 12 minutes for that to go over. During that period of time, my commanding officer, who was on the flying bridge, gave the order, abandon ship. She's no longer any good to us. And he died on the bridge. And then Ensign Sears was screaming for us to get over on the Tennessee. Well, he wanted us to jimmy across the lines like this here, straddle it, and 5 guys that went ahead of us got machine gunned. So I told Crosland, we don't go no lines. So he said, how are we going to get over there, Stu? I said, I don't know, but we'll find a way. And so while we were watching the Oklahoma tip over, I noticed the 5-inch 38s that the Marines man for anti-aircraft. And I said, Crosland, have you ever walked a railroad track? He said, what are you talking about? I said, have you ever walked down a railroad track? Yeah, when I was a kid. I said, you're going to do it again today? He said, what are you talking about? I said, you see that gun barrel? We're going to go up on the starboard side, go up in the casemate, and we're going to climb up on that gun barrel and run across and jump down in the Tennessee. He said, you go first. So I did, and when I hit the Tennessee, where do you think I was going?
Straight to the turrets.
You're right on target. I had been trained for a whole year as a gun pointer. That's my battle station. So when I went over to the Tennessee, I got on the 3rd rung of turret 3, and a Marine lifted me up with his foot. He says, haven't you had enough of those turrets? Well, what do you want us to do? Get over on the beach. I says, how? Swim, you idiot. Fire was about twice as high as this ceiling right here. So we went over on the starboard side of the Tennessee. Here's all these nice, neatly piled clothes and shined shoes. We stripped right down to our undershorts. And I told Crosland, don't dive, we'll jump. So we both jumped into that burning oil and went right. Now, I'm not an underwater swimmer. I classified an A, B, C swimmer in recruit training, but I didn't qualify as an underwater swimmer. But I'll tell you, we both swam underwater that morning. And we got over in the beach, and as soon as we hit the beach, an ambulance picked us up, took us to the dispensary to see if we had any burns or lacerations or anything. And if we didn't, they put us to work immediately ministering to the ones that were. And they gave us a tube of ungantine ointment, a bottle of sulfa drug, and a morphines. And they told us, this is your medical supplies. So, but it was applied to many of the fellows that were up on the 2nd deck. And I took a picture, 2000, which was 59 years later, excuse me, where a bomb hit right in the center of that dispensary that we were in. And when we came out here, why, we visited all of the different memorials, and there was no memorial for the Oklahoma. So Dan Martinez, who was one of the lead rangers here, I got a hold of him. And I said, Dan, we just finished putting lays on all the monuments of the different ships, but there was no monument for the Oklahoma. I says, how come? Congress figured the ship sank on the way back to the States, wasn't necessary. I said, the hell with that hunk of steel. How about the 429 men's lives that were lost aboard it? He said, I'll see what I can do, Stu. So he got in touch with Senator Inouye. Senator Inouye got in touch with the governor of Oklahoma. When we came out here for the 65th anniversary, they were cutting over, or digging out the ground to build the most beautiful memorial there is on that island over there. So from there, I came back to the ship to help fight fire till about 4:30, 5 o'clock. Then I was sent over to Bach Recreation Center, where they gave us some mattress and some blankets, and all our clothes, the only clothes we had was what they'd given us over at the dispensary, which was khakis. So they bedded us down for the night, and we had breakfast the next morning. Then they put us in a detail where we were divided up, and we were assigned to different ships. And I went aboard the USS San Francisco on December the 9th. Now I'll tell you an unusual story. My buddy, Johnny Anderson, was supposed to have been in the left gun in turret 3. However, he never made it. He was the coxswain of a 50-foot boat, and he was coming alongside the ship when he saw the torpedo wakes. And he jumped on the armor belt, stuck his head and shoulders through the porthole. When that torpedo hit, the force of the water drove him right on through. But he never got to his battle station. However, the Department of Navy did not know that, and they declared everybody in the left gun killed, and he would have been there. That's where he should have been for his battle station, but he wasn't. They sent a message to his mother that he was killed in action. Lived in Kansas. On December the 9th, we were given a postcard. All we could say is, "M. well, sign it." That was it, and send it. They were having a funeral for Johnny Anderson back in Kansas at the church that they went to, and in comes this postcard to the post office. The postman read it. He closed up the post office, ran down to the church, handed it to his mother. His mother read it and had a heart attack and died in church right there. Johnny was killed on the San Francisco. He was blown in half, and I had to identify his body. But to back up for a minute, when we came out of the turret and we were watching the Oklahoma tip over, I told Crossan, if I don't get killed today, I'll live to see the end of the war. He said, "How can you say that, Stu?" I said, "If you have the faith to believe it, you can do it." He said, "I don't have that kind of faith." Well, I went all the way through World War II and the Korean War and never earned a Purple Heart, never got a scratch. But I got to tell you a little story that goes with that. I was talking to a school in La Mesa, and when I got done, I asked if there were any questions. A little boy in the back raised his hand up. He says, "Mr. Hedley, you told us you went through World War II and the Korean War, and you never got a scratch?" I said, "That's right." He said, "What happened to your little pinky?" Oh, I said that. I got hungry and bit it right off one day. His eyes got as big as saucers. But that was my experience here at Pearl Harbor.
Thank you for taking this time to interview us.
You're,
The first ship that you were on, the one you were manned on, what was the name of that ship?
USS West Virginia,
You were on the
battleship BB-48. This is an unusual situation too. I was on the battleship BB-48. I was on the San Francisco CA-38. I was on the destroyer of the Massey 778. They all ended in 8. But I enjoyed all 20 years of my naval career.